What up? Welcome to another deck list. This is Plagon, Lord of the Beach. And he's kind of just a starfishy guy, he doesn't really do much. Just kidding. For 3 mana, he's a 0/3, which is a horrible stat line. But when he enters, draw a card for each creature you control with toughness greater than its power. You can also pay a hybrid Azorius for a target creature you control assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power this turn. So it's kind of designed, I guess, like a value engine to play in your decks that include Azorius colors in them, that toughness matters. I decided to make it mono blue blink. There's also a category called Azorius, which we'll cover later, but yeah, this deck is just mono blue blink because I think you could super easily make this into an Azorius blink deck, one of 8,000. But yeah, instead it's him, and yeah, mono blue blink in Azorius, also surprisingly low in terms of cost. And I mean, we're running some pretty gas cards in the deck, so yeah. Artifacts, there are a few because I want to ramp into Plagon, and playing out creatures obviously takes mana. So yeah. Arcane Signet, Ramp, Felwart, or Decanter of Endless Water. This is kind of just here because no max hand size is important once you get Plagon going. Because you're going to have a maximum hand size. Like, you're just going to be drawing 10, 15 cards a turn. Felwar Stone is Ramp, so is Mind Stone. They kind of both do the same thing. They add a mana that typically won't matter. Maybe somebody's playing blue and it counts as a blue rock too. Panharmonicon will double your ETBs. You're playing Blink, so even the non-Plagon cards that I'm still playing for value will have really, really strong ETBs like Archaeomancer or Peregrine Drake. Relic of Legends it's a mana rock, but it's really interesting. I kind of realized this last second, but let's say you blink Plagon using the Relic of Legends. You can then, after he comes back in, tap him again for another mana and add more mana. So it's almost like every blink costs one less if you're blinking something like Plagon or a legendary creature, which is cool. Sapphire Medallion, because we're in mono blue. Soul Ring, because it's a Soul Ring. And Thought Vessel, because no max hand size. On the creatures, a lot of these creatures are kind of just bulk. Aegis Turtle, he's kind of the go to the deck. He's a 1 mana 0/5. This might be the best card in the deck, which is crazy. But yeah, he's just a 1 mana 0/5. This will be a common recurrence for a lot of the creatures in the deck. Archaeomancer, not one of them. When he enters, return target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. This just gets all your blinks back. So yeah, that's kind of what it's there for. It'll just get all your blank cards back. Even Envoy, 1 mana 0/2 with flying. Ooh, there you go. Brassman, 1 mana 1/3, doesn't untap during your untap phase, which is irrelevant. And you can pay one and untap him, but you can only do it during your upkeep. Sick. Yeah, he's a 1/3. I also kind of just put him in the deck because he's old. I just like putting weird old cards into the deck. He was only ever printed in like 4th and revised and like really old sets, so it's cool. Kaelorna, Coral Tyrant. This is close to Aegis Turtle. This is a 2 mana 0/8. You pretty much want to be running every one cause big butt, but I was like, throw in Kaelorna because he's a 2 mana 0/8. That's really funny to play on turn 2. Cherix, yeah, I'm assuming it's Cherix, the Raging Isle. 4 mana 0/17. Spell your opponent's cost. The cost Cherix costs 2 more to cast, and you can pay 3 given plus X minus X, where X is the number of islands you control. Obviously, because it's mono blue, we're only playing islands. He's got a big butt. Yep, that's it. He's got a big butt. Cloudfin Raptor, 1 mana 0/1 with flying and evolve. Ooh, whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, if that creature has greater power or toughness than this creature, put a 1/1 on this creature. You could probably get him up to like a 2/3 pretty reliably in this deck. Leilano Philosophy, 1 mana 1/2. You can pay 7, sack him to draw 3 cards. So there you go. Late game, if you top deck this guy, it's 8 mana, draw 3. There's worse cards in the game. Eluge, the Shoreless Sea, when it power and toughness are equal to the number of islands, and whenever it enters or attacks with a flood counter on a land, it's an island. And then the first instant or sorcery spell you cast each turn costs a blue or 1 generic less for each land you control with a flood counter. So it's a good flicker target. Even on enter, it will just make all your first instant and sorcery flicker cards cost 1 less, which is nice. It's kind of just here for value and like cost reduction. Errant Street Artist, 1 mana 0/3 with Defender and Haste. You can pay 2, copy an instant or copy a spell you control that wasn't cast. I don't think there's any legal targets in this deck for this. Maybe if somebody casts something that like removes your creature and then somehow you cast something else from your hand with the effect. But yeah, this is just a 1 mana 0/3 with Defender and Flash. You could flash it on instead. Floodgate is one of the cards that I actually built the deck around, just because it's a weird old card. I was listening to a podcast, they were talking about it from Mirage, which is also still a 25-cent card. So, you know, if 19 cents isn't an option or isn't a budget constraint for you, get the Mirage version. It's funnier. It's a 4 mana 0/5, so it works for or with your Plagon. Has Defender. When it has flying, you sacrifice it, which is cool. It's a wall, so how would it have flying? And then whenever this creature leaves the battlefield, it deals damage to each non-blue creature without flying equal to half the number of islands you control rounded down. If somebody swings big, you block. You can like almost board wipe if it's later on in the game. You have a bunch of islands. Yeah, it's kind of always in the deck. He's also just from Mirage. Hookblade Veteran, 1 mana 1/2. As long as you turn, he has flying, which is nice. Hypnotic Grifter, you can pay 3 to have him connive. So draw a card, discard a card. If you discard an land, put a 1/1 counter on this creature. It's just a way to cycle for 3 mana. Like the best one drops are actually probably just the ones that do something else besides being a big butt. This one has a use outside of being a 1/2. Ingenious Prodigy, it's X blue, Skulk, so it can't be blocked by creatures with greater power, and then enters with X 1/1 counters on it. Being your upkeep, you can have it lose a 1/1 counter to draw a card. So it can draw a card every turn if you play it later on. Although it takes an extra turn, so maybe it's not great. But it's a worst case scenario, 1 mana 0/1. Keeper of the Lens, 1 mana 1/2. You may look at face down creatures you don't control. Sick tech into all the morph players, all 7 of them. So yeah, get wrecked, morph players. Kraken Hatchling, 1 mana 0/4. It's so close to Aegis Turtle, but it's just not there. Living Conundrum, this is one of the win cons in the deck. 5 mana 2/5 hexproof. If you draw a card while your library has no cards in it, skip that draw instead. And as long as there are no cards in your library, it has base power toughness 10/10 and flying vigilance. So endgame, if you're out of cards in your deck, which is very likely, and you haven't won the game already, this is just a 10/10 beater. Lochwain Gargoyle, 1 mana 0/3. You can also pay for it, give it +2/+0 and flying until end of turn. Late game, if you have a stupid amount of mana, this is just a big beater. Merfolk Secret Keeper, 1 mana 0/4, but also you can pay 1 sorcery speed to have target player put the top 4 cards of their library into their graveyard. So it's almost mill strategy, but it's mainly a 1 mana 0/4, but it can also be something else, which is why it's in the deck. Mnemonic Wall, 5 mana 0/4 Defender. When it enters, you may turn target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. Similar to our Chaomancer, except this guy's got a big butt. Ormos Archive Keeper is another win con, 6 mana 5/5 flying. If you draw a card while your library has no cards in it, instead put 5 1/1 counters on Ormos Archive Keeper. And you can pay 3, discard 3 cards with different names to draw 5. Which, I don't know, maybe once your deck is empty this is useful. But yeah, this is just a way to not lose the game when you deck it. And it can become a win con if nobody deals with it. Ornithopter, 0 mana 0/2. It's a free big butt. Ornithopter of Paradise, 2 mana 0/2, and it's a mana dork. Overwhelmed Apprentice, 1 mana 1/2. When it enters, each opponent mills 2, and then you scry 2. It's a scry 2 on 1 mana for a 1/2 that works with your commander. Might as well play it. Paragon Drake, one of the combo pieces in the deck. I say combo, but just good card. When it enters, untap up to 5 lands. This goes infinite with like Displace or Ghostly Flicker and an Archaeomancer. Also, apparently banned in Pauper, which kind of makes sense. But yeah. This card can go infinite, especially if you're like displacing or ghostly flickering this and Plagon, you're drawing all the cards and you're untapping all the lands that you use to tap for the spell that you cast. So yeah. Phantasmal Image, it's just a 2 mana clone. I think this card is really, really good. You can have it come in just as an extra copy of your commander if you need that draw for 2 mana. If not, you can have it come in as another strong creature on the battlefield. Yeah, I think this card is really, really good. Also, relatively cheap, being under $3. Phyrexian Walker, 0 mana 0/3. It's like an Ornithopter, but it's a little bit bigger, but it doesn't have flying. Quistis Trepe is a 3 mana 2/2. When it enters, you may cast target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard, and mana of any type can be spent to cast that spell. If that spell would be put into a graveyard, exile instead. I'm putting this in more and more blue decks because I do think it is kind of just good. similar to like Snapcaster Mage. Only problem is it's not flash speed. But yeah, besides that, I do think this card is pretty good. Reef Shaman, 1 mana 0/2, you can tap it to have target land type become the basic land type of your choice until end of turn. This can screw a player over if their land's screwed. Like they have one triome and then all basics of one color. You could like just lock them into that one color. You could just name a color that their color identity isn't, which is fun. But yeah, it's the 1 mana 0/2. Scholar of Ages, 7 mana 3/3. When it enters, return up to 2 target instant or sorcery cards from your graveyard to your hand. I mean, 7 mana for the 3/3, it's kind of a lot to pay, but returning 2 blank spells later on in the game can be really useful, so that's why it's in the deck. And Scourge of Fleets, 7 mana 6/6. When it enters, return each creature your opponent's control with toughness X or less to its owner's hand, where X is the number of islands you control. Mono blue, you might as well run this card. Seagate Oracle, 3 mana 1/3, enters like the top 2 cards of your library, put one of them in your hand, other one on the bottom of your library. So this can just find you something. 3 mana is a little steep for 1/3, but it works with Plagon, so that's fine. Shore Calm or Crab, 1 mana 0/4. Again, so close to the turtle, but we're just not there. Tetsuo Umezawa, Fugitive, creature you control with power toughness 1 or less can't be blocked. This actually does work well if you're on a beatdown strategy with your commander, where you can make all your 0 power guys unblockable and then have them swing, like Aegis Crab just swinging for 5 every turn, or the Crab swinging for 4. So yeah, I don't think this card's that bad. Also just works with the commander, so why not for 2 mana. Reality Chip, 2 mana 0/4. It's card advantage. You can look at the top card of your library anytime, and as long as it's attached to a creature that you may play lands cast spells from top of your library, which is nice, because the curve in this deck is pretty low. 20-Toed Toad, this is a win con. Your maximum hand size is 20. Whenever you attack with 2 or more creatures, put a 1/1 counter on 20-Toed Toad and draw a card. And whenever 20-Toed Toad attacks, you win the game if there are 20 or more counters on it, or if you have 20 or more cards in your hand. It's very likely to have 20 or more cards in your hand, so yeah, this is just a win the game card. Valley Flood Caller, 3 mana 2/2. This card essentially just says flash, and you may cast on creature spells as though they had flash. Which, on reading this, I thought it was just you can cast spells as though they had flash. So this card's probably coming out of the deck. But I don't think it's bad, but it's not good. And Labman, if you draw a card while your deck has no cards in it, you win the game instead. Yeah, this is like the main win con. Yeah, I thought this worked with Labman. I'm probably going to take this out. The more you know. Wall of Ruins, 1 mana 0/4 Defender. When it enters, scry 1. This card is... I'm going to say this card is as good as Aegis Turtle. Although it can't attack, but it scries 1. It scries 1 for 1 mana. So, might as well. You stole a rule, 6 mana 3/5. So it works with Plagon, surprisingly. And at the beginning of your end step, exile target creature you control, then return it to the battlefield under its own control. Then if it's the first end step, there's an additional end step after this step. So it just flickers Plagon twice a turn at the end of your turn for free, which is pretty good. On the instance, no enchantments on the deck, but yeah, an offer you can't refuse. It's a counterspell. So is Arcane Denial. We're in mono blue. We want to be able to protect our Plagon and our lines, our win lines, so you gotta run a few counterspells. Blur is just 3 mana blink, draw a card. Born upon a Wind, 2 mana, you may cast spells this turn as though they had flash, like your Labman, and draw a card. Counterspell is Counterspell. Displace flickers 2 creatures. So yeah, this works really well with like Paragon Drake and your commander, or Paragon Drake and Archaeomancer. Paragon Drake and Archaeomancer just makes infinite mana if you have 5 lands on board, because you tap all 5 of your lands, spend 3 of the blue for this. Flicker the Paragon Drake, the Archaeomancer brings back Displace, and the Paragon Drake untaps all your land. You net 2 mana every time. And then with that, you can, infinitely displace Archaeomancer and your commander, or whatever. Essence Flux, 1 mana, this is just a blink. If it's a spirit, it gets 1/1 counter, whoop-de-doo, it's a 1 mana blink. Which blue doesn't really have any of, so. Ghostly Flicker, again, 3 mana, blink 2 things, although it hits artifacts and or lands and creatures. So you can be a little more versatile with it, but usually it just hits 2 creatures. Illusionist Stratagem, 4 mana, exile 2 creatures you control, and then draw a card after. Negate is just negate. Planar Incision, 2 mana, blink. It enters with a 1/1 counter on it. Azorius, 2 mana blink. If it's a pirate, draw a card, which I don't think you're running any pirates in the deck. Snap can pounce Plagon to hand, and then you can just recast them for 3. And it's technically a free spell because you untap 2 lands after you cast this. Onto the lands. The important one is Emergent Zone. You can pay 1, sack it. You may cast spells as they flash this turn, as well as Reliquary Tower. You have no max hand size. Also, Reliquary Tower being this expensive, kind of wild. I didn't realize that, but yeah, it's been creeping. Jace, Wielder Mysteries, 4 mana for if you draw a card while your library has no cards in it, you win the game. It's like Labman, but it's not. It's a Planeswalker instead. You're flashing this out on the turn that you're going to win, so people aren't going to be killing it with combat damage. And then target player puts the top 2 cards of their library into the graveyard, draw a card, or draw 7. Then if your library has no cards in it, you win the game, which the -8 is kind of useless, but the +1 to draw a card could be useful. Sorcery Splash Portal, it's a 1 mana flicker. If it's a bird, frog, otter, or rat, draw a card, which I guess Valley Flood Color is an otter, but if I'm scrapping it, yeah, there's no targets for this. I'll quickly go through the Maybeboard. These are cards that I kind of took out or just didn't put in because they're expensive. Conjurer's Closet, for 5 mana flickering once at the end of your turn. I think this card, it's kind of just like your Shola. Also, flickering on your end step's not that great because it is kind of hard to win in your end step. But yeah, I don't know, I thought this card would be better and then it just wasn't. Go Master Mimicry, you can pay XX, tap it, copy target activated or triggered ability, you control X times, you may choose new targets for the copies. This ability can't be copied and X can't be 0. At first I'm like, cool, more Plagon activations, but I realized that costs XX to do, and this isn't a deck that's like easily making a billion mana, so yeah, I think this card's not great. Hydroelectric Specimen, there's just kind of protection, and I realized we run enough counter spells. In worst case scenario, they kill Plagon, and it's like, alright, I'm just going to recast them and then draw a bunch of cards again, but for a little more mana, so I don't think that's the worst thing, which is why I took them out. Shield Sphere, this is strictly in the Maybeboard because it's a 0 mana 0/6, but it's $11. If this card wasn't $11, I would put it in the deck, but unfortunately, it was only ever printed in Alliances. Yeah, but 0 mana 0/6, pretty good card. Thassa's Oracle, I mean, this is just the same card as Labman, realistically. It's just 2 mana win the game instead of 3 mana. But yeah, $17. Nah, I'm good. And then last one was, they came from the pipes. Oh, not last one. But yeah, when it enters, you manifest Dread twice. And then whenever a face down creature you control enters, draw a card. So like, this is kind of just 5 mana, put 2 2/2s on board that you can flicker at any point as well to have them come in face up. And it draws you a card, so I don't think this card was bad. It just felt a little too awkward. But I do think this card is actually pretty good. Yeah, last card, Vesuvian Duplomancy. Whenever you cast a spell that targets only a single artifact or creature you control, create a token that's a copy of that artifact or creature, except it's not legendary. So if you decide to flicker Plagon, you make a non-legendary copy of Plagon that enters, I'm assuming before the other one flickers out. And I'm like, I'd rather just draw a flicker spell and then flicker him again, and yeah. So yeah, that's the list. Now I'll cover some Azorius cards, or some cards that would make the deck Azorius. Yeah, I mean, these are just like kind of gas cards. Braga, whenever it attacks, you can flicker any amount of creatures or non-land permanents that you control, I believe. So I mean, yeah, this is a good card, but also it's Azorius. You can flicker Plagon with this and flicker whatever good like ETB effects that you have when this guy swings. He's also 2/4, so he works with Plagon, which is nice. Cloud Shift is just a 1 mana flicker, which is kind of great. Delny is crazy in this deck because most of the creatures are power or mana value 2 or less. 1 sec. Creature you control with power 2 or less can be blocked by creatures with power 3 or more. If an ability of a creature you control with power 2 or less triggers, that ability triggers an additional time. Yeah, most of the deck is power 2 or less, so this would essentially double trigger most of the deck. One thing, it's $35, which is unfortunate. But yeah, this card is super duper cracked. I do want to build a deck that involves this, but it's so hard to justify spending that much money on a card. Elish Norn, this is your ETB doubler and your opponent ETB stopper, or negator, however you want to say it. Yeah, just doubles your ETBs, permanents entering don't cause ability permanents. Your opponents control the trigger. This is a really, really good card. I play this in a stacks deck, and people don't like it, unsurprisingly. Ephemerate, this is just a double blink. It's blink and then it has rebound, so if you cast from your hand, you can exile it, and at the beginning of your next upkeep, you can cast it without paying its mana cost, which is pretty cool. Momentary blink is a flicker, and then you can flash it back to flicker again. Restoration Angel, ETB, flash flicker. Soul Herder, at the end of your turn, flicker, and whenever a creature is exiled, put a 1/1 counter on Soul Herder, so it grows as well. Yeah, that's the deck. On to the Rex. I mean, I'll quickly look, but there's probably going to be a lot of Azorius cards and weird, like, value, probably white weenie cards. Oops. Yeah, obviously, like, lands and stuff. I think it'd be very funny to run a mono blue deck and then actually include the entire Azorius land base. And people would just be really confused the entire time. But, yeah. Whenever one or more other creatures control leave the battlefield without dying and draw a card, it's alright value. It's a 2-mana 1/3 as well. So you just draw an extra card whenever you flicker anything. But, nah, do you really need the extra card draw? I'd rather just run like a 1-mana whatever. It's probably better than the 2-mana 0/8 if I'm being honest, but 2-mana 0/8 is pretty funny. They assign combat damage equal to toughness. Yeah, if you want to actually do like a toughness combat damage build, Balden, High Alert are both really good cards. Displacer Kitten's kind of cracked as a card. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, exile up to one target non-land permanent you control, then return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. Notably, you can't flicker the same target with Displacer Kitten and your blink effect, because when the card comes in, it's a different instance of a card, so the blink effect would actually wouldn't resolve because the original target would be gone. But yeah, this is a really good card if you're flickering more than one creature. Artifacts your opponent's control and are tapped. I guess you could play stacks cards in the deck because a lot of like the little hate bear cards, right? Crystal Barricade, your hexproof. That's neat. Hullbreaker Horror, you can probably do some cool combos with. I say cool, they're pretty degenerate. You get to run better counter spells. Kite-Car, which is just another flickerer. Teferi, which is a pretty good hate card. Yeah, there's a lot of good cards you can run in Azorius. A lot of them are kind of stacksy, but they're good cards. So yeah, that's Plagon. Look at this guy. He's riding Aegis Turtle. It's canonical to play Aegis Turtle in this deck. But yeah, that's the deck. Very fun to play. I personally like drawing 40 plus cards in the turn with Fairy Grind Drake on board. I think most people do as well. Unless there's a Shieldred on board, then I don't like it. But yeah, that's the deck. Thank you very much. Next week, I'll cover something. I'm not sure what. Because my 5-color Graveyard Lands deck isn't really working the way I want it to. But yeah, that's it. Goodbye.